Altar of Brutality is a debut full-length album from Mortual, a San Jose, Costa Rica-based death metal band and a trio at this point. They've pivoted a little bit beyond their previous EP, Evil Incarnation, and now into a full-length, which is more focused on an early 90s Florida death metal sound, something that is more related to 80s death metal in general, in terms of bringing some of that thrash, the simplicity of movement, and some brutality in the way that bands like the Colombian band Massacre or Mortual from Peru brought on their earlier records in the early 90s. What we get here is a very serrated edge. We get a very raw but brutal sound, which I describe as still cognizant of its late 80s extreme thrash rooting. So when I speak of imperial doom or retribution from monstrosity and malevolent creation alike, I'm speaking to the fact that there is some thrash metal and some kind of bounding movement that we get from bands that stepped from thrash metal into death metal in the late 80s. So that feeling is there. We'll get a clip of it here, and I'll talk a little bit more about why I like this record so much. So the main lineup of the band, between the two fellows from Necropharum, holds true, but they brought in a thrash metal drummer from a fellow named Chalo, who is now, I think he performed on the latest Chemicide record. If you follow listenable records, you should check out Chemicide's record as well, especially if you're a fan of classic thrash metal or neo thrash, if you will. I think what I like about this record is that it is very much leaning back to that late 80s sound in terms of a death thrash metal record, something that has loose run-based riffs and also focuses on squealing, wailing, and screaming guitar solos throughout. I don't know that it necessarily invokes like screams of anguish era brutality and all of the whammy dives and all that they throw in there, but there is a fair deal of quick hewn shredding all over this record, which makes it feel more authentic. Otherwise, this is all about the riffs. It's about cutting riffs as fast as possible, being as brutal as possible, while still sounding like an early 90s band. It really is just a classic sound that still works for me in every form, and it's a band that does it particularly well. I don't know that this is as substantial as I expected based on the previous EP, but they make good on that raw sound with something a little bit more polished, which makes sense in repetitive listening. The one problem I have with this record is actually fairly superficial. It's aesthetic. I'm not a fan of AI-generated images, and I don't appreciate this artist's work and the cover artist. And so I couldn't stand that about it. I think it's a hideous album cover, and I really feel like it just does not represent this album well in any sense. I don't know. I just question the taste level on that choice. I don't get it at all. But it doesn't affect my enjoyment of the album other than the first impression and having to look at that album cover every time I listen. Well, it turns out I listen to it quite a bit, so I am a big fan of this record. I do think it is a very high recommendation. It is one of the best records of July so far, and an album that I think it might bump down on my list because of the AI art a little bit overall, but still it's undeniably just an impressive and exciting record to listen to. Had to kind of find a middle ground there in that sense, but check it out for yourself, see what you think of it, and read my written review to see if your thoughts line up with mine.